thousands on my right, thousands by my side. War between good and evil, watching our fists collide. Battle for our freedom now, to the streets we ride. Flags waving all around, pages full of pride. This is where we make a stand, no more give or take. March around the Capitol, storm the city gates. Putting pressure on their necks until the truth breaks. All walls of corruption, take out all the snakes. Star Spangled Banner, got it playing loud and proud. People from all walks of life filling up the crowd. Defend the Constitution, many warriors have vowed. Casting down any among us who have bucked and cowed. Enough with tyranny, we come to take our country back. For all citizens, white, red, brown, or black.
Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Christian Warrior Talk on Patriot Crusader Mission, episode number 52. Man.
Wow.
Chair.
We're competing chairs. You're down low.
Oh, it's because you in my chair?
Maybe. No.
No, not. Anyways, Lauren's not taller than me.
You're shrunk.
Nah, I'm going to fix this.
We hope that you had a good weekend. We are missing right now the early premiere of Chosen episode 2. Did you realize that?
Yeah, so when we're done, we're going to run upstairs.
We're going to go watch it?
And watch it. There we go.
For anyone who hasn't donated over a certain dollar amount, it will be available for you tomorrow. Make sure you go watch it.
So what up, peeps? We got a lot to talk about, as always. The news cycle does not disappoint. For those of you who are wondering what's going on with us while we wait for a few more people to come on. Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. Finally getting my spot. So this Saturday is our farewell to Charlottesville, Virginia, Hello, Tennessee party.
It seemed
And not a
somewhat
day.
far away when we scheduled it. It's really not far away.
No, it's literally
it's
this.
like 5 days.
Wow. Yeah. And then the pods that Monday. Yeah. But everything's been going on. Like
there are a few boxes packed. There is the signs
Lauren's done a
of
great
moving begun. Not as many as they should be, but it's begun.
And the dumpster's coming. So if you need a ton of glasses or silverware or anything that's made with particle board, come to 5286 Markwood Road and we will.
You can have it.
You can have it.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, great to see you, Steve.
Just dropped the YouTube stream link into Facebook if any of you guys want to hop over there to help us with viewing minutes. Thank you.
So a lot of jacked up stuff in the news. Let's talk about the one that, let's first offer our thoughts and prayers for the active shooter at the high school in Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's less of an active shooter than we think, but we can get into that.
Yeah. There's a community that is scared, and I don't know how many people were injured or any of that stuff yet. Do you have any updates on that?
Yes.
What do you got?
You want to dive right into it?
Right into it.
So it seems...
Suicide by cop?
No. Well, so there's not many details out yet about kind of motive or what it could have turned into.
Hey, John.
But what I've seen as an update from the initial reports, which were very scarce on details, it's that there were reports from this school of an armed individual in the bathroom, and no shooting had started at that point. It's just they believed that
someone saw a gun probably under the stall,
and officers came and went into the bathroom and were trying to get the person to come out, and he shot at the officers. Officers engaged back. The one person who is dead is the suspect, a male. They haven't identified him yet, but he was a student there. And then one officer was injured, but not life-threatening.
So the cops there did a good job. They pushed to the threat. They went in, they stopped it, and no casualties. One of them was injured, and I'm sorry for that. But they did their job to the best of their ability, and good on them.
I've seen one report that it was a school resource officer. I haven't seen anything else that corroborates that in any other articles. That was like a leaked info in one article that they said. So not sure there. Everything else just says officers responded.
Hey, Edward, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
You know, the whole school resource officer is a whole conversation and debate because you get some schools that are taking them out and then other schools that are trying to add them in and arm teachers. And so, I mean,
we know that countless liberal toilet cities are taking their defund the police is getting rid of resource officers.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and the lie, the BLM lie that cops are hunting, whatever, and that they're taking them out of the schools and then allowed to do their jobs, which is terrible.
Well, in most cases, I mean, there have been multiple examples of attempted school shootings where a school resource officer, because they were on site, they were able to step in and stop it before casualties got high.
Well, here,
and
this is best case scenario. Literally, the only real casualty is the bad guy.
Right. And again, we don't know if it was a resource officer, but still, yes, this is absolutely how you would want it to turn out. One thing to note from this particular situation is this is the fourth shooting in that vicinity of the school town area since January, I believe it was, that have involved kids.
Yeah.
It is a majority black school, and I believe probably black area. There have been 3 other students.
So we're looking at North Knoxville then.
Yeah, Northeast Knoxville, yes. And so this is the 4th incident in which a student has been killed by gunfire. But again,
hey, John Hall, welcome to the show. Scott, good to see you again, brother. For all you new first-time comers, thanks for coming, checking us out. So there you have a hero cop getting shot, stopping an active shooter, getting wounded, and putting down a bad guy, right? But that's not the case that we just had in, of all places, Minnesota, 9 miles from where the George Floyd madness is going on. And you have a what's considered an extremely senior, a very senior, I can't remember what the descriptor, female cop,
senior as in
been around a long time, probably been riding the desk for a very long time, but there is no police department as shorthanded as anybody in and around Minneapolis right now. So they're pulling all the desk jockeys who don't know the difference between a gun and a freaking taser in their hands when they're supposed to be staring at their front sights and saying, oh, my God, that's a gun. That's not a taser. I don't see a laser.
Yeah, so, I mean, brief summary, if anyone hasn't seen this news.
Chris Scott, good to see you.
Minneapolis and cities around the country are blowing up right now because there was, in this case, a seemingly truly unjustified shooting of a black individual by a white cop. He wasn't totally in the right with everything he was doing, but it did not seem what his actions were deserving of.
Both him and the other case we're going to talk about, the person there could have made sure that nothing happened if they had just complied.
Comply.
Right. Now, I was watching John Burke, who's a former Army guy who runs a show, whatever. Seems like a decent dude. I probably agree with him on most things. But he's saying, he was given some really bad advice and talking about not complying and doing that if you don't feel like you've done anything wrong and all this other, and it's ridiculous macho BS, and it's whatever. Comply, settle in court.
Yeah.
Comply and settle it in court. Sue, you'll get the cases chart, you dropped, whatever. Just right now you have untrained people out there. You have the bottom of the barrel still in PD. Nobody worth their salt unless and the ones that are in there are doing their job at 10% capacity because they're terrified to do their job. So the people that are in there are the power trippers or the wrong people that you want in there. Yeah. And then last of the good guys who are just riding their time out because policing is no longer anymore.
Right.
It's just a ticking time bomb. Now this girl, somebody came out, one of the leaders came out, city manager came out and said, we need to give this cop due process. Right? It was obviously an accident.
Yeah.
Totally negligent.
Yeah.
Right? But it was obviously an accident. Right. Non-racism. She's just stupid and made a stupid mistake because cops are trained, like janitors have more training than a lot of cops.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so he got fired for asking for due process.
I saw that. Yeah.
Like what is more calming than saying just let the system play out? Right? Let the system play out. No, lynch him.
That doesn't just
get the torches going. Right. Burn him at the stake. Burn her at the stake. Whatever. It's just ridiculous, man. And it's just gotten to this point where because we have neutered police officers so much, and because we've made the job so miserable, anyone with any self-respect is gone.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
If they had any other option, they're gone.
Yeah.
And they're certainly not going to work in Minnesota. Right? Literally the worst place. There, Baltimore, New York.
These areas that are suffering from their defunding efforts. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's very true.
Hey, Melissa Raleigh, good to see you. Edward, yes, it is cancel culture. Brandy, good to see you, brother. Welcome in.
As we were talking about earlier, it's I was trying to figure out what the word was, and it was the self-fulfilling prophecy comes to mind when we're talking about this. It's that, the whole cancel culture and the defund the police, they were saying that there was all of these issues within the police department, racism, bad training, yada, yada, and then they defund them. And
make it worse.
That makes some of that actually happen when it wasn't really happening before when they were calling for it. And so
it's not by accident. They want to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
They want destabilization.
Now they're more justified.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. I've held a gun. I've never held a taser, like at least the ones that a police department would use. Even if you're not looking at it, do they feel the same in your hand?
Sometimes some models do. Some of them are designed to feel like a gun and operate like a gun, so you don't have to have a totally different system. But that's why you put them in different places.
Right. That's
right.
What I was
that's why typically one will have one on side. Well, yeah, the smart departments have one on one side, one on the other.
That's not standard practice.
Every department has its own rules. That's the problem.
Okay.
Right. And so obviously this desk jockey went out and grabbed the wrong one, pulled it out, didn't even know what she was looking at. Right. Yeah. And like, like, it was great. Your camera caught it perfect. Boom. Yeah, that's the back of a freaking pistol.
Yeah.
Like, exactly.
She says taser.
Well, she should be looking at what she's about to shoot.
Yeah.
And she shoots him once and says, "Oh my God, I shot him." Or something like that.
It was a little bit more expletive, but yeah, to that effect.
They wanted to fund the police because they want to destabilize society. They want bad things to happen so they can paint, particularly, the police. Mm-hmm. And, if you look at the police, majority of police vote Republican, majority of the police happen to be white, 67%, I think, is the case. They tend to be straight. They tend to be everything that they hate, right? And what's the easiest way to guarantee blacks vote Democrat? Stir up the police brutality, lie, and garbage out there, right? Like, there's nobody in more danger of being shot than me being pulled over by a cop right now. I'm a white guy, former veteran, and, with Patriot and, all over my stuff, and and they shoot me. There's not even gonna be. It won't even make like the bottom of the back page of a newspaper. Wouldn't even make it.
Yeah, well, that's the case in point when after the Chauvin, the whole trial that was going on right now, that case of the white special needs man in Texas, I believe it was, years ago, like 7 years ago.
The guy was suffocated and killed. Nothing happened.
Way that he was,
but way crueler. They were all making fun of him. They were all doing, and he called the cops himself. He didn't commit a crime.
Yeah.
He didn't have his medications. He was freaking out, and he called the cops to save himself.
It wasn't drugs. It was a mental disorder. But
and they sat around laughing at him and making him, and then he died.
And kneeled on
nothing
him while
happened.
He was on his stomach.
Nothing happened. Why? Because he didn't fit the Democrat plan.
Yeah. But what's going to happen after the shooting of this black man in Minneapolis?
Hey, Johnny, welcome.
You know how they always come out with this, like, shot while unarmed, shot while running, shot while walking away, kind of the narrative, shot while hands up, don't shoot, all that stuff. So the line that's coming out of this one is that he's shot because he had air fresheners hanging on his rearview mirror. That's why he told his mom on the phone that he was being pulled over. He was being pulled over, I think, because he had a light out, and then he had, I think it was a warrant out because he had
a warrant on his rest. They ran his plates
from earlier in the summer. But what's going to be told is he's this unarmed.
The
black
lie
kid
and the spin is going to be that.
Air fresheners.
But here's the thing: in this case, right? If he had just complied and not fought the police and went to jail, he'd be alive today.
Yeah. So you have to be able to separate those two things out. And that's
you
not
have a part to
saying-
play. You have a part to play in this. The easiest way to make sure that no one's going to get hurt and the safest thing you can do is get out and listen to commands.
And I think it's not only one or the other can be true. You can say he should have complied and he shouldn't have been shot in the same sentence. But culture now is going to either make you pick one. Say either you have to justify that he should have complied and therefore he deserved it, or that he should never have been shot no matter what he did.
He didn't deserve it, but what I'm saying is, I
know what you're saying.
As a self-defense person, somebody who trains people in self-defense, the safest thing you can do is comply and settle in court.
100%.
Record it and, comply, put it in court, go in there and settle it that way, because otherwise you're risking your life because you have a bunch of yahoos out there now. We've got good friends. I know great friends who are great cops who have bailed on that job because it's not worth doing anymore.
Yeah.
So, well, Johnny, I hope this helped out your challenge. Here's Johnny. See you later. So then there was a really tough, call where some cops in, Winslow, Virginia?
Windsor, Virginia.
Windsor, Virginia, which is close to Richmond.
Yeah.
And around Richmond. And they, pulled over a car for not having tags properly displayed. The car, which was an SUV with dark tint.
Brand new.
Drove very slowly because of the area that they were on is very dark. It's very fast-moving traffic, and he pulled into a BP station, a well-lit BP station.
A common thing to do when you're getting pulled over in an area you don't feel safe. Acknowledge being pulled over and go to the nearest well-lit safe area.
And the best thing he could have done, 2020, call dispatch and say, hey, I'm not running away. Yeah. I'm pulling into BP. To get in the lit area, please let the officers know. No disrespect,
that's a great tip.
whatever.
A lot of people I don't think would think to do that.
So anyways, because of that, the two idiots who pulled him over did a felony high-risk stop, which means, they position their cars a certain way. They come out at gunpoint, call them out of the car, and do all this stuff. For a guy whose tag was in a brand new car, he had the paper plate in the window. They're doing a felony stop on him, right? So this guy is freaked out. He's a black guy, a black Hispanic Army officer, lieutenant, dressed in his fatigues, like sitting there trying to talk to him, trying to reason with him. Now, he was a dumbass too.
Well,
right?
It goes to the blanket comply statement.
Right. If he had just complied, he wouldn't have got pepper sprayed, and it would have been in the story. They would have cuffed him. They would have realized how stupid they are. He could have filed a complaint on him and said they did a high-risk stop for this, and whatnot, and it would have been a much better situation. But instead, he argued and why. So they pepper sprayed and pulled him out of the car, handcuffed him, did all that stuff, and rightly so, the guy who instigated and talked all the smack, who was an older officer there, he got fired today as soon as that came out. The younger officer didn't do anything nearly as bad. He was following the lead, I believe, of the other guy. Yeah. And he just held on him, and he was like, come on, man, just comply. And then the other guy was like, you're going to ride the lightning talking smack. And the military taught me to obey and blah, 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 all this other stuff. And it just goes to show you, there's a lot of cops out there. I'm a former cop. Ty always goes to the officer, in my opinion. The officer has got an impossible job, hardest job in America. But there are cops out there who are power trippers, power tripping, my authority, and that's why they're doing the job. Yeah. And I've worked with them, and I've called them on it. Yeah. I wanted no part of that type of law enforcement. I tried to dispatch the law as a doctor dispenses medicine. And I cut more breaks and put my job on the line more times because I didn't think I didn't think that them getting that charge was going to be the
Mhm.
right thing.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, hindsight is always 2020, brother. It is always 2020. But the problem is, again, I defend the cops 99% of the time. It just happens to be that we had two dumbasses back to back. And a vast majority of them are, again, millennials are now cops. Holy smokes. There's a comedian who does a skit on that. I should play it sometime.
Yeah. Kara, who is that? Who does that?
Yeah, it was a new car, man. It's just totally uncalled for. One, as soon as I saw the dude was in the military, you chill out. Like, this is somebody who squared away, this, that, the other thing. Probably have a lot in common. I'm just going to be like, what's going on? Instead, they had no justification for the felony stop. And the way they wrote it, it shows they knew they were screwed up.
Well, and the things, it sounds like, too, that they were starting to kind of, as this was evolving, realizing that they were, like, way out of bounds.
Yeah, hold on. One second. Edward, most cops are good. Most cops are good. So it's way more are good than are bad. But unfortunately, I think that ratio is being skewed. And when I say good and bad, I don't mean necessarily, I'm talking about an intelligent, performing officer with good intentions. Right. Now, what I'm afraid is you have people who shouldn't be in the role because they got in there for whatever reason, because they needed more LGBTQ, unicorns in the uniform, and they need to do this, that, and the other thing, and they're taking, what day and age this is for cops right now. It's the most miserable, hard job on the planet. Mm-hmm. There's no way I do that job anymore, ever, anywhere, and so that's going to attract a certain type of person right now. And either you're a social justice warrior who is out to get, a vendetta against one half of the side of the country, or it's going to attract the power trippers who just want to do whatever. And I'm sure there'll be some crusaders out there that'll want to go do the right thing, and they're there to serve the community, to an honorable profession, protect, those among us. But unfortunately, they're being driven out because guess what they want to do? Police work.
Yeah. They
actually want to do the job in its most pure form, and not sit around and just write tickets to, raise money for the city or, and penalize taxpayers.
Yeah. So Chris Scott said, did you see where the older cop tells me he shouldn't pursue the issue? And that's what I was starting to say, too, is as they realized that they were completely inappropriate there, and they start telling him, like, basically don't follow up on this and have people know how much we screwed this up. So, which obviously now that's all on tape. So I don't know what they were thinking there. Comment, not everyone can remain calm and rational when they're being screamed at with guns pointed at them for no apparent reason. He seems like he stayed.
Well, again, I'm sorry. I don't have any sympathy for that. If a cop has got a gun pointed at you, you should be in fear for your life, and you should pretend that if you do anything wrong, you're going to get shot. Whether or not it's justified. Your job right now is to survive and do what he says. And the problem, Bill Bixby, and I know you're a good dude, and I appreciate you supporting the show. The problem is civilians need more training than the cops do. So as badly trained as the cops are, dumbass civilians are even worse, because now they all want to be YouTube stars. They all want to get their lawsuit. They all want to film the cop screwing up or provoke the cop into screwing up so they can get $24 million. Right? Like, again, this guy got pepper sprayed. He's going to sue. He shouldn't get a penny for it. That cop got fired. That was the proper recourse. That cop shouldn't be allowed to be a cop.
Well, so I know that he's suing for at least $1 million, I believe.
What's that?
He's suing for at least $1 million.
$1 million for a pepper spray. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. I've been pepper sprayed so many times. Get over it.
Emotional trauma.
Whatever.
Is now kind of
like everybody wants to be a freaking victim and a baby. This is the real world. All right. And sorry, you can't walk around in your fairy tale bubble where everything great happens and everything's just and everything's awesome. That's not realistic. It's still the most just, righteous time where we get it right more than any other time in history. Right? Before there were no cameras, so it wouldn't get caught. Before there was, no DNA, no satellite image, not all these. Now you have the best chance of getting justice in the history of the world. right? And dumbasses like these two people screwed up, and they should pay the man for it, right? This girl should go to jail for manslaughter at a minimum, right?
Yeah.
It's an accident. It's not murder. It was manslaughter, right? Just like Chauvin was not murder, in my opinion. At the most, it's manslaughter, right? He didn't, unless you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was trying to kill him, it's not murder.
Right, and the same goes for hate crime. Can you prove that it was with racist intent?
And but here's the thing, you know, Bill, or Bixby, I understand that, but the cops, every time, they don't know what they're getting into. Like, people want to kill them. They're assassinated all the time. So they have to play defense the whole time. Now, there was 2 cops there. Now, the easiest way that guy could have not been pepper sprayed or the other guy could have been shot is just to listen. But guess what? The guy who got shot, he didn't want to go to prison because he had a freaking warrant. So, again, you know, he shouldn't have been shot. The girl was a dumbass for shooting her. She should pay the price. But he's not without blame either, right? Don't try to run from the cops when you have a warrant.
I mean, he has. You can understand not. He didn't, as you said. He had a reason to not want to comply because he was already on the bad list. Whereas this officer, he was just confused. And I think kind of caught off guard, which is why he didn't comply. I mean, because he was saying, you know, obviously, as a black man having guns pointed at you at a traffic stop, he has a lot of bias based on what.
Well, and that's the false narrative of the news media pointing that out there is causing this. If he had just gotten out when the first cop told him to come out with your hands up, get down on the ground, whatever, they would have cuffed him. They would have run him. They would have been like, "Oh man, all right, we didn't see your plate because of the tinted windows there. You need to get that fixed. No harm, no foul. Thanks. You know, have a good day. Sorry that this happened, but, you know, whatever." That's how it should have went. But both people played a part in that.
Mutual escalation versus mutual de-escalation.
And again, you know, civilians are everyone wants to be a YouTube star and everyone wants to sue. The fact that this guy is suing, if he didn't sue, I'd have more respect for him. But he's trying to get a freaking payday out of this.
I doubt that was going through his mind in the moment.
Doesn't matter. He turned it into that.
I'm just saying.
So it compromises anything he's going to say now because now he has motive to lie. The motive to lie now and the motive to say to paint himself as the biggest victim possible is for $1 million payday.
I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, he has video because he started videoing it, and you have the cops' cameras. So you can't obviously say what was going on in their minds. They can articulate that however they want to, and that's where the spin could happen, but there's enough video to show what technically happened.
So a couple things get cut up here. Pepper spray don't feel good. MAs get pepper sprayed for quality. Yeah, pepper spray sucks, and depending on which one, some are worse than others. The coroner said it should have been deemed an overdose. I've seen that report too, where he had 3 to 4 times the amount that it would take to kill someone. Yep. Right? And then Chris Scott said, "I would like to know what Chauvin's end game was. What was he waiting for so long?" I honestly just think he was just gaining control of the guy, and I just don't think he's a nice guy. I think he was probably a bitter patrol dude, and what he was doing was mean, but I don't think... I think he was... I mean, I don't know what his record looks like. Does he have a ton of... You know, that's all should be admissible to see if he's got a history of abuse. Right? Could he just be the guy who sits there and puts the cuffs on a little too tight because he's a jerk? You know, is he the guy?
He was giving them a pretty hard time in the arrest, so I'm sure there's probably a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he fought them. He tried to hurt them. He did everything wrong. He was acting crazy. And he just sat there and was on him to let him know that, hey, I got you. You're not going anywhere. Yeah. Right? You get crazy again, and it's going to get worse. Yeah. Right? So... You know, again, I don't condone it. I understand it. But it's not right. Yeah. You know, in particular, I mean, just think of how many people have suffered and died and how many millions, if not billions of dollars of damage have happened because of a freaking felon who stuck a gun to a woman's pregnant belly and was a drug addict porn star whose family just got $24 million when that guy wasn't going to make $2,400 the rest of his life. So then we say that and pushing white supremacy. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. They want to pit the blacks against the whites. They want to put everyone against each other and put everyone on teams. I am being detained. Well, if you want to keep up your nonsense, then yes, mutual respect goes a long way. I don't understand what you're saying there, John.
Just about the what is your role if you're being arrested?
If you're being detained, play along.
So he was framing out that conversation.
Yeah.
Saying, yes, you're being detained.
Yeah, if you're being detained, you just say, okay, play along. What can I do to help you do your job, officer? And then, what can I do to help you do your job right now? Because right now I want to get home to my family, and the whole weight of society is on his side, and you got to do everything right then and there. And then when it goes to the courtroom, it gets even.
Well, and I mean, we've talked a lot, kind of the narrative is that a black person being pulled over has all of this natural fear built up because of how the media is painting everything, that their chances now are way higher of not getting out of that stop alive. But I think
actually it's not true.
That's the narrative. That's what I'm saying.
That's the narrative. It's an untrue narrative.
Also, that cops are going into these stops with probably just as equal amount of apprehension.
I know cops that will not pull over black people anymore because they don't want to deal with it. So they just pull over white people. Period. They'll just come up. They'll be like, "Hey, have a good one. See you later," because they don't want to deal with it. They can't enforce the law on them.
Whose job is it to de-escalate it? It is truly mutual.
So they're just, they're just giving, and they're just letting them go commit crimes in their own neighborhoods. Yeah. And and the people who suffer, the innocent people in those rough, tough neighborhoods. And that's the shame, right? That's the shame, and that's why it's the hardest job in America, and why it's so darn complicated. Which why, when you pay $15 an hour for a job that's high risk, what do you think you're going to get?
Yeah.
What caliber of person is going to put there?
Someone who could go and work at McDonald's for $15 an hour?
You're going to get the desk jockey who's going to grab their taser instead of their gun, and the Keystone cop who's going to shoot a guy instead of tase him. Yeah. That's what you're going to get. So until you professionalize police training again and have a standard and pay them six figures, you're not going to get what you deserve.
Yeah.
You're getting what you're paying for right now. You make it a profession that can have a good wage, working 40 hours a week, not 80, not 90.
Yeah.
40 hours a week. Don't let them, do the job exhausted and all that stuff like so many do, because the details and the overtime rack up money. And you professionalize the training. You maintain a national standard that's worth a darn, and that's how you turn this around. Not what they're doing now, which is caseworkers instead of cops and defunding the police. Yeah, detained is what you're doing to figure out, as you're investigating, to figure out if anything's going on. Apprehending is when you catch somebody who did something wrong.
Okay.
Right? That means that you're charging them, you apprehended them, whatever. Comply and be on our way. Exactly, John. It's just, I know it sucks. I don't like being pulled over. I don't like being told what to do. There are cops here that in Albemarle County who, if they pulled me over, it would probably be a bad deal. My former training officer, total turd. This is a guy who brings his mom on ride-alongs to show him how grown up he is. And he's the biggest wimp on the planet. He hides behind the badge. He got Officer of the Year because, all he does is overtime and all this other stuff. And he couldn't be a worse cop if he tried.
Crowning achievement is like breaking up high school parties.
Yeah, like bragging to me that, like, when I'm there, he's like, yeah, his proudest moment was being on night vision and arresting a bunch of kids who were, a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court, where the parents, after some kids graduated high school, they let them all camp out at back and drink, and they took everyone's keys so no one could get caught drunk and driving. Some other parent, some probably named Shaw, called the cops because they found out about it. And then the cops all went there, and, they showed up with their night vision and caught them all.
Yeah.
And that was like their cool guy story. I'm like, really? That's your cool guy story? Like, holy smokes, dude. I'd be embarrassed. Like, don't tell any of that to anyone else ever again.
It made me go. Chris Scott, all windows down. If at night, interior lights on too. Letting cops know that you're empathetic to the job goes a long way.
Totally
Great.
does, man. Hands on the steering wheel. What can I do for your officer? But again, that guy, the Army officer, didn't have a chance because here he is. But let me change the fact pattern a little bit. What if there was somebody who was just abducted in a car that looked like that, right? And they were doing a high-risk stop because they're afraid that somebody who just killed somebody or an active shooter, somebody saw something and that guy's getting away. They don't.
So all they have is the description of the car.
All they have the description of a car.
Night, Randy.
They pull it over, and they got to treat it like it's whatever. And that guy has to comply. That's why what John Burke said is complete garbage, where if you didn't do anything wrong, you don't have to comply. Comply, let them finish the investigation. You'll be on your way because it gets them to the next bad guy and the next bad guy because they're tied up with you because you could be that guy. And that's how you save lives as a cop. It's all a percentage game. Right? If the description of the male, if the description is a white 7-foot tall male, I'm not going to stop a 4-foot tall Asian.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
The percentages aren't there.
Right.
So it's all about percentages, increasing your percentages to make sure that you're not wasting your time so you can save that life.
Nasty word profiling, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, though. Profiling save lives, and it makes the job. I mean, that's why you get a description. Why? Because it fits a profile. What are they wearing? Well, if they're wearing this, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. And again, that was just an example as far as what could have been.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know that's not why he was pulled over, but it's an interesting perspective.
That's why you got to give the cops the benefit of the doubt, comply with them, be like, hey, what's going on? Then be like, once you're cuffed up and they search you, don't have any guns or anything on you, be like, hey, guys, be like, hey, sorry, man, we just literally, someone just got shot down the street, they fled and, whatever. And what I would do at that point is key over the mic, hey, dispatch, read that description, and it'd be 2020, Black Tahoe,
So
whatever. And they'd be like,
why.
does that look like you sound like your car? Yeah, that's why we pulled you over. All right, hey, turn around. There you go. Have a nice, whatever, and I've actually done this. Here's my card, because you complied, you did all that stuff. Here's, get out of a parking ticket, speeding ticket, call me and I'll fix a ticket.
You were a good cop.
Well, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, Edward Gray. You never know. I was taught that too, Chris, and it has come in handy. Without a doubt. Again, it's the hardest job in America. If cops have, they only have like 4 outcomes, right? They go home at night, they go to the morgue, right? They go to prison, right? Or they go to the hospital.
Yeah, very true.
Right? On every call, those are their 4 options.
Yeah.
They're going to get sued, and that's the 5th. Sorry. Poverty for being sued. Because what happens, the city settles every time, which makes them look guilty. And if they don't have a good union paying for their lawyer, it's a terrible, terrible
problem. Their families, house address, everything's put out there.
Yeah. Except for the black cop who shot Ashley Babbitt. We don't know anything about him. We don't know who he is, and no one cares. No one cares that a 30-something-year-old Air Force veteran was gunned down in the Capitol crawling through a window. Empty hands, nothing, no weapons on her, shot point-blank range, execution style. I've got the video. I've got it on my computer right now.
They have enough about the circumstance that they can try to justify it for anyone who doesn't want to dig.
Yeah, and it's like there's only one reason for them to be able to have called that lethal force. Either it would had to have been a national security threat beyond them, and again, they would have to prove that.
But again, you'd have to ask, why wouldn't they have just come out and? You'd think that they would come out and say that versus leaving it as these crickets.
Well, because it could be disproven. Right, if they say, well, Pence was there, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, no, Pence was over here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they had that legitimate explanation, you'd think that they would want to come out and say it.
So for everybody who died was a Trump supporter, just so everyone knows.
Hey, John.
Everyone who died at that rally was a Trump supporter, including the cop who did not die due to head trauma from a fire extinguisher. He had a stroke. Good to see you, John. Miss you, brother. So, I mean, again, my heart goes out to the blue line. It's a really hard job. It's an extremely tough profession. And, what I would call for, and a lot of people are not going to like this, is I think that police need to go on a strike, like a nationwide strike, until reform happens and things go back to normal, where their cities are going to respect them and do what they're supposed to do and have their back and have tort reform. Like, they're undoing laws that prevent people from suing the cops. Like, everyone's got motive to sue the cops. You got beef with the cops because they caught you in a crime.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I arrested a guy on a warrant. Super cool dude. We're sitting there, we're talking. This is back when I used to watch sports, talking Patriots. We get in there, and when we get to booking, he's like, "Hey, man, can I talk to you, Lieutenant?" I'm like, "Yeah, I figured this guy's going to say what a great guy is." Get in there, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy called me, the N-word and all this other stuff." My jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Could not believe that he tried to say that.
Yeah.
Like, I was just sitting there, and I'm just like, what? Of course, it went nowhere, but still, that's ridiculous. That's what they want to do.
Well, and that's why, now I know that a lot of officers originally didn't like the body camera thing, but now it helps them. It helps them more than it hurts them now.
It gets them out of more trouble than it ever got them in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So body cameras prove honest people honest.
Yeah.
And it shows liars to be liars.
Yeah, so what if you hear an occasional swear or a burp or a fart or whatever, whatever you were worried about in the first place?
That's the key, is that if you're an honest person, it's just going to show them what you said you did.
Yep.
Right? And that's locks keep, honest people honest.
Yeah.
And cameras keep people disciplined.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to be held accountable for what you say and what you do.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
Yep. Yep.
So do you want to pivot to Frank? Give an
I
update
do.
about what you saw
So,
today?
guys. Oh, and for OXOXO, you are going to love this, bro. So, Mike Lindell is starting his own social media company.
His new boss.
Yeah. Called Frank for free speech. And I and some other, like, way bigger names than me, like the Hodge twins were on the call, and Diamond and Silk, and a bunch of other, influencers were on there, and they were showing us what Frank can do. Frank is going to be, if it can do what they say that it can do,
It's executed
executed well,
yeah.
it is going to be a great platform.
And you said it's kind of a combo between Facebook.
They have the Twitter. It's a combo between Twitter and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has a little YouTube in there as well. Mm-hmm. I think it really kind of took the best of each. And it's really, really cool. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I was blown away by it. I had very low expectations going in. Mm-hmm. Mike Lindell, I think he's a true patriot in this, but I'm like, what does he know about social media? Yeah. But he hired some guys who do. People. Right.
So is that a question? Is that in conjunction with the Trump one? I don't think so, right? Trump's
a different one. Trump's got a whole different one, if he still does it. I've heard it's going back and forth. But the one Frank is going to be really cool.
And, it's launching next week.
It's launching next week, and so there's 4 rules, right, or 5 rules. You can't commit a crime on air or do anything that's illegal. You can't say the F word. Mm-hmm. You can't say the C word, that has Tuesday in it. You can't say the N word, and you can't say GD.
Yeah,
that's Mike Lindell's, Christian roots there. Anything else is good to go, and they're not gonna.
It truly shows the influences behind the platform for what they chose, as far as the we will censor you if these words are included. I think it's great. So
everything's going to be taped, or uploaded for the first 4 weeks, and then after that they're rolling out live. Mm-hmm. So live streaming will not be an option over there for most people. For 99.9% of people over there until they finish polishing that experience. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to guess with with hiccups and tech issues, it's probably be 4 to 6 weeks.
Sure.
You're going to have your news feed on one side, and then you have other things where it's going to be podcasts, where it'll just be all audio.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have TV, which is, like YouTube and all that stuff. And then they have a news feed, which is just all news articles populated from all around the thing. And then special interest, whatever here. Yeah. So
is there a cost associated
no,
with
it's free.
Users?
It's free.
Okay.
It's free.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Like Mike Lindell literally put this up. He's doing this to take free speech back.
Yeah.
That's his sole motivation.
Yeah.
He wants because he's got a story that he wants to get out that he can't, and he's been shut down. Yeah. He knows what it's like, so he's going out there and he's doing this, and I'm honored to work for the guy, to work with the guy, and I hope we can do great things. But I'll tell you guys the show that I'm going to be doing with this lady Melissa is called The Hope Report. And that'll be on right now Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday at 10 a.m.
So not live. It'll be recorded.
Not live. It'll be recorded. Uploaded. We're recording it the day before, and then we're gonna upload it. I'll be there if there's any premieres or any of that stuff. I'm also gonna take stuff and share it over here. The difference is if I can talk about election fraud over there. I can talk about COVID-19 without worried about getting hit. I can talk about all those other things. Now, that's not what this show's about. That's what Patriot. That's what PCM will be there, and PCM's going to wade into all those topics. The Hope Report is just going to be good news.
Yeah,
it's going to be all about testimonies from people who beat addiction or overcome circumstances. Good to see you, brother.
And I think to answer your last question, yes, people will be able to interact with each other on the platform, kind of in the Facebook kind of way.
Mike is the best. Pray that it continues success for everyone involved. Awesome. Yeah. What was I in the middle of saying before that?
Oh, content. So you're talking about what the Hope Report's going to be.
Oh, the Hope Report. Yeah. So the Hope Report's going to be about all good news. So it's going to be, us pointing out businesses that are doing it right.
Christian businesses, Christian testimonies.
Christian businesses, Christian testimonies, people who are patriotic and giving back to America, like Goya.
Awesome interviews with some high-end
awesome
people.
Interviews with high-end people. Everything's going to end on a positive note over there. That's our goal, is to inject hope and
the ranting and the raving will be on PCM.
The ranting and the raving and the raging will be over at PCM, where we'll be training people how to defend the future.
Yeah.
So that's what we got going on. I'm so pumped. No stress at all. Getting all this together.
So he was hired last week. Last Thursday, right? It was like day one, and he was pretty much told on the day he was hired. Okay, so he thought he was going to have a month plus to get this first episode off the ground, and
they're
he was
like 7.
Have it ready for the launch of Frank. So he has a week to put all of this together.
So
the co-host is in a different state.
Yeah, co-host is in a different state and multiple things going on and very little guidance, and it's entrepreneurship 101. Just make it happen.
Yeah.
So
you're the best at
that's what we're doing. We're super pumped, so excited, and I just can't wait. Yes, I'm excited for the Hope Report, and that's going to be great to be ministering like that to that crowd. And to be able to leave people with a smile on their face, but to be able to go over there and speak truth with PCM and show guns and talk about guns and do in defense tactics and how to defend yourself and all these tough, polarizing issues that we have to talk about and not worry about it.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool. So the kind of the behind the scenes call he got to essentially sit in on. They were giving kind of previews to, if you think of the conservative names of podcasters out there, especially the ones that have been censored, cancel cultured on main social media pages, and they were on this call to kind of get the skinny on what they'll be able to do there and kind of get the leg up on getting being the first of the podcasts that are going to be listed on this. So it's pretty cool.
Yep. Yep. So super excited about it. It's going to be great. I expect there to be bumps in the road.
Sure.
I expect there to be technical glitches and all that stuff. So I just hope everyone's patient with it and that it launches and we're able to create an experience where that people are willing to stop putting money in Facebook and YouTube and Instagram's pocket. And Apple and Google and everyone else, right? They're all shutting you down. They're all telling you you don't know. You can't put Parler app on your phone that you paid for. We don't like you looking at that. We don't want you to get those opinions.
Yeah,
like how arrogant to them. Like the day a phone comes out that's worth a darn, that can contend with them, that's free. I'll never buy an Apple product again.
My guess is that's probably where Mike Lindell's going next.
That's where I'm hoping Trump goes next.
Yeah.
Mike's going to run out of money if he keeps doing all these projects. So
it sounds like he's put a ton into it. I know that.
Yeah.
He made sure that he was not going to be owned by any other platforms as far as the Parler situation.
All the
So
infrastructure.
He has 4 servers or something, so that if any are attacked, he has backup ones. I mean, he's thought about all of those details to try to make sure that the experience is smooth on the user end.
Yeah, and I just pray to God that it goes well, because the whole other half of the country or the half of the world wants to see him fail and celebrate. You got Jimmy Kimmel, and all these losers.
David Harris Jr. shared it on his page today. I guess Jimmy Kimmel did a spoof skit mocking his commercials, mocking Mike Lindell's commercials. So just mean, just very, very mean-spirited. Yeah, I mean, as much as you're going to get that, the more hate you're receiving, the better you're doing, I would say.
Yeah. Yep. How important you are is directly proportional to the level of attack that you get, as Paul Lavelle says. Well, John, it looks like you're going to have a good time over there if that's pretty much every interest that you have.
That's why it was built.
Yeah, exactly. How are we doing on time here? What are we looking at?
About an hour. Wrapping up in a minute or two.
Anything you want to talk about?
Baby B's better.
Oh, yeah. Baby B was sick.
You guys heard about the disaster on Friday? And the disaster that impacted me being late to the show. Her mouth is finally healed. Praise God. Her mouth war is over. So she's eating again, happy again, sleeping again.
Spoiled.
So now we're breaking all the bad habits that very quickly get made when a little kiddo is sick, and you kind of
just trying to make them
survive,
do anything to make them happy and smile or eat anything.
Now she's like, I get ice cream for breakfast.
Yeah,
I get mom
now
in the
all
bed
she
all
wants
the time.
is now all she wants is pure ice cream.
Oh,
ice cream, chocolate. What's the word for chocolate? Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Yeah, thanks, John.
So we're happy because B's happy.
I just want to say, one thing. Having something temporary with B and watching her be in pain and suffer and uncomfortable and writhe in pain, my heart breaks. And I just want to pray for anyone out there whose kid is sick with cancer or anything else out there or anything. It is horrible. And I just pray that Jesus would go out to anyone out there who's, loved one is sick, injured, and harmed, not doing well, and just bring them comfort and peace.
Yeah.
And that hopefully they'll find that in Jesus. That'll just draw them into Him. So I pray that in Jesus' name, amen. We have people we know people close to us who've lost young children to cancer.
Yeah.
And I just can't even, it would destroy me.
I had to constantly give myself that perspective of, I know that this is going to be over in a week. That's the life cycle of this virus. I know it's going to be over in a week. And versus these people who have these open-ended health battles with kids the same age or younger that you can't explain what's
Hey,
going
William,
on.
it's
And
good to
they're going
see you,
hospital
brother.
And getting poked with needles and the pain of whatever disease there. I mean, so yeah, it's I had to say, get over the pity party, Lauren.
Yeah.
You still have it pretty darn good.
All right, guys. So how can you support this show? Please do not leave. We got 12 people on here right now. Can we get 12 likes? For the love of Jesus, can we get 12 likes on this video? Just hit the thumbs up. If it's not blue, you didn't hit the thumbs up. So hit the blue thumbs up or whatever it is that, just thumbs up. So if you click it twice, you'll unclick it. So thumbs up.
Don't get overexcited
on that. Share it, right? Please, 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 please. And then if you want to, go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you watch your podcasts and rate the audio version of this. We're really catching on over there, and it's been great. So, obviously I'm not the best eye candy, so I sound better than I look. so that's playing a role. But unless it's the terrible audio we had for episode 50, which I'm not even going to get into
even
that.
though it's episode 50, it's like the big 50.
Yeah, episode 50, and my partner didn't check my sound for me. Didn't monitor my sound.
Your partner was at the pediatrician with your baby that we just talked about, so I have an excuse.
So anyways,
Other ways to support, go to the Patreon page. If
Yeah.
you have any money to spare, even $5 a month is a huge help to us.
just join the community. I hope to start up the prayer groups and all that stuff once we get settled in Tennessee. There is no way I could do that right now, but
Thank you, Terry. God bless.
Yep. Hey, Terry, have a good one. And once we get down on the ground in Tennessee, we're going to be doing stuff in person there with people too. So it'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all we got, everyone. So have a great night, and here's our outro.
I got the outro tonight.